We all love a legendary comeback, and Degree Original Cool Rush is back and better than ever. Cool Rush isn't just a scent, it's a movement, a fan favorite that delivers bold, fresh vibes and all-day sweat protection. Whether you have a man that spends hours in the gym, heads into the office early, or is just trying to stay fresh on a long day, Cool Rush has their back. Head to your local Walmart or Target and grab Degree Cool Rush, the fan favorite scent from the world's #1 antiperspirant brand.
REI Co-op presents a perfect outdoor moment with the perfect gift. Picture this. You're ripping with your favorite person. Bluebird skies, blower powder, and frankly, you're skiing like legends.
So sick. Another lap?
Thanks to REI's curation, from lid to sticks, you nailed the gift.
No way. How'd you know?
Does it get more perfect than that? Give without guessing. Shop in store or visit rei.com.
Hi, this is Kanika Gupta, founder and host of That's Total Mom Sense.
I'm Stephanie Dua, president and co-founder of HOMER.
And this is At Home
with HOMER. HOMER is the essential early learning program for kids aged 2 to 8. We have the most comprehensive app available for early learning skills that you can find on iOS or Google Play. And you can also find our really fun Explore kits that help kids with their math, their reading, and social emotional learning that you can find on our website, learnwithhomer.com.
On this weekly segment, we're going to cover a range of topics, from raising confident readers to developing emotional intelligence.
These are the skills that will carry your child through school and life and resonate most when taught at home by you, their most important teacher.
So grab a notepad, your phone, or your mental notebook to remember the tips shared during this segment. And now on to At Home with Homer. Homer! This episode is all about happiness. Stephanie, I heard you mention in an interview that it isn't our job as parents to make our kids happy. And it really resonated with me. You know, even as adults, we are really in control of our emotions and in control of happiness. I feel happiness is a choice. But a lot of times parents kind of put that pressure on themselves that, you know, if their kid's not happy, it's their fault. And so they have to do something. So how do we really navigate happiness with our kids?
I think it's one of the hardest jobs as a parent to think about what is our role related to our child's emotions and their happiness in the moment versus kind of long term. If we as parents accept that our job is to make our kids happy, we're failing all the time, right? Because our kids are upset, they're upset with their sibling, or they're upset that something didn't go their way. And then you get into a loop of trying to fix things all the time. And I think that's the challenge with adopting a sense that it's to make our kids happy. I think a better mindset is to say, or an alternative mindset is to say, our kids are going to have a huge range of emotions as children and as adults. They're going to have loss and sorrow. They're going to have to grieve for somebody that they loved that died at some point. They're going to have jealousy. They're going to have disappointment. They're going to have joy. They're going to have pride. You know, they're going to have enthusiasm. They're going to have all of these emotions. And our job is really to help support them as they experience those emotions. So if they lose a pet, our job is not to then make them happy and say, well, you know, it's okay that we lost this pet. Let's get another pet. Let me find something else to distract you because we lost the pet. But rather say, like, that is hard. It's hard. I feel sad too. You know, I feel that sadness. How are you feeling? And help them know that they have a partner, a support system as they're experiencing those emotions so they don't feel alone. And that when they're ready, they can come to you and that you're always there no matter what, to be there with them as they're experiencing that. I think that's the most valuable piece of this. There are some practical things we can do as well. Mm-hmm. One is really to kind of give them power over their decisions, even the wrong ones. You know, if they're fighting saying, I don't want to put on my shoes or the raincoat and it's raining outside, let them feel what that consequence looks like. I used to remember Anya would always want to wear like a little strapless dress, you know, when it was the middle of winter in New York City. And I'm like, okay, let's go outside and see how that feels. And then she'd be like, oh, it's really cold. And sometimes she wouldn't say it was cold. She'd be like, I'm fine. You know, she's very stubborn, you know, but she didn't get frostbite, you know, nothing really happened. She had that agency. The second thing is to give them agency over failures and success and how they approach it. One big hot button is homework. I believe it's really important for the child to have a relationship with their teacher and the parent not to get in the middle. It's kind of the same with sports, right? Which is like, how can the experts, the teacher, the coach really have a relationship with your child so that you're not checking their homework and then they're going to school and it's really not their work product, because that also takes away their own ability to feel joy and disappointment, depending on what the outcome is, because somebody took that agency away from them. It's not their work product, and they're going to figure it out.
Right.
And then finally, I think, part of just helping them with emotions, it's the same with us. Kanika, I like to say when I'm really upset, my husband comes to me and he's like, calm down, or you seem really anxious. I want to strangle him. I'm like,
yes,
that is not helpful right now. And I'm frustrated with you, by the way. And so the thing to do is not do that. It's understanding if they're feeling really frustrated in that moment, coming to them with something rational. Why don't you look at this? Why don't you do it? They're just like, I'm super upset and I want to be upset. So giving them the space to be upset and then helping them with self-soothing, right? Whether it's jumping jacks, sometimes physical activity is really good for adults and kids, like changing their place. So if they're sitting in the kitchen, get up, let's run around for a minute. Let's do some jumping jacks. Let's get all that energy out of us.
Yeah.
By the way, that's good for adults too. If you're feeling really frustrated, getting up, stretching, doing something to kind of get that negative energy out of you can be really helpful in soothing that emotion.
I love that. Because everyone always says count to 10 or take deep breaths. But yeah, jumping jacks is way more physical and you don't have to think. And it definitely just changes things up. I love that. One thing that I am kind of exploring with my kids, because they're 4 going on 5, and they are having their own journey and regulating their emotions. And I've found that a lot of times they act out, whether it's they want to show that they're angry or upset, for the attention.
Yeah.
And so even if, they're misbehaving or doing something that we don't want them to do, rather than disciplining them in that moment, I'm just switching it up and saying, you know what, you need a hug.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
It just kind of diffuses it all.
Yeah, I had the same experience with my middle one. It's hard to be a middle child sandwiched in between an older sister and a younger sister. And I'd find she would act out a lot. And the babysitter would be like, I don't know what to do with her. She's acting out all the time. I spent time with her trying to understand it, and I found I'd put her on the stairs. I'd be like, let's do the 1, 2, 3. I tried every trick in every parenting book trick I could find around how to handle sort of defiant behavior. But same with you, I found what I would do, that the only thing I could do that would work is I'd sit next to her, and she loves these little rubs. So I'd rub her hand and her arm, and I'd just sit next to her. I wouldn't say anything, and I would just rub her, and she would calm herself down, and then we could talk about something. The more I disciplined her, the more I got angry, the more I wanted to control the situation, the more we were like digging our heels in.
Right. Absolutely. And then it does tie back into being able to regulate their emotions on their own, knowing what they want and being happy.
And I would say, Kanika, the other thing is every kid's going to be a little different. So you have to also understand how your son handles his emotions is going to be different than your daughter, which might be different than your other son, right? And so everyone has kind of their own temperament and their own sensibility. And so being able to be in tune with that and understanding it's not about you, but it's about them and how they respond to the situation, I think is important as well.
We hope you enjoyed this week's At Home with Homer segment. To download the app, visit learnwithhomer.com/momsense, MOMSENSE, to receive your very own 60-day free trial. Your kids are going to love playing the games, watching the visual stories, and more.